Hello, everyone. This is Mahmoud Faisal Khatib, the Bowtie Attorney. We want to welcome you to the Bowtie Edge, Real Estate Unraveled, where we strip away the legal jargon, get real about real estate, helping homeowners, investors, brokers, agents, lenders, including my fellow attorneys, and talking about what we actually need to know. We are here today with Miss Tiffany Watkins. We just spent a few minutes talking, and I was like, we need to get this on camera because she is a wealth of knowledge. She started doing this when she was 5 years old, because it's 25 years in the business. And if anybody wants to argue with me, that's gonna be fighting words, right? She has a very illustrious career in real estate, starting as a property manager all the way unto what she's doing today, managing her own brokerage. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we were talking about a bunch of different things. Tell us a little bit about, you were talking about how you got started, what you do, what brought you here, what got you here. Talk to us.
So, as I said, I started in real estate 25 years ago.
When she was five, everybody, just want to remind everybody that she was 5 years old when she started.
In property management, and what most people don't know. So, I am a licensed real estate designated managing broker. So, I own my own brokerage, and I have always owned my own brokerage. I've never worked for anyone else. Our company is Art Property Management, and Art stands for Anita, Robin, and Tiffany. I am the only sole owner of the company. I had two other business partners, and they chose to do something else different, and left the business.
And I just want everybody to know, I confirmed they are not buried in some forest in the middle of anywhere else. There was a very amicable break.
Yes, it was. So how I got navigated into sales and all of that. My clients, I typically primarily deal with new home buyers and investors, because most of the people that I deal with want to invest in real estate and either flip or hold on to the real estate. When I was doing property management, my clients were like, well, why don't you sell us the property since you're going to manage it, because you know what you will manage. And so that's how I got into sales. I like sales. It's okay for the property management rehab side versus sales. We do renovations as well. If a client wants to buy a property because they have the time, they have the resources, but not the time, I act as a project manager helping them to renovate it. I'm like, if you ever watched Love It or List It on HGTV, I'm like Hillary. I'm the one that picks out the light fixtures and makes sure the line and functionality of the place is great. And if they want to sell it, I sell it for them. And if they want to hold on to it, I manage it for them day to day. So like in '08, when the market crashed, my clients couldn't sell their rehab flips. So we went to managing it. We just managed it for them. And then in 2000, when the pandemic hit, in those areas they weren't planning on holding on, we sold them. So they made all that money off rents, and then turned around, the property value increased and made more money. And I make money
Love
off
it.
everything I do.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Well done, well done. So everyone knows we've got her number at the bottom of the screen, broker, and a phone number. We'd put her email, but unfortunately, I couldn't figure out how to navigate and add more characters there. So
Yes.
call her, and her team will answer. So you were kind of your specialty. One of the things you were talking about, which I thought was amazing, that you do that very few other brokers are familiar with, which is these 203K loans. Tell me a little bit about these 203K loans and what makes you so special with it.
So for a individual who wants to live in a community that is difficult to get into because they're outbidded by people who might have a lot more money than them. So an average house in the neighborhood may be $350,000. Their
Okay.
average their loan amount is $350,000. But the person that lives in that community that typically gravitates to the community has a loan value of 450 or better for their loan amount. But they don't want to be house poor. So they say, I'm gonna buy a $350,000 house. And the person that
Right.
can afford $350,000, like, I keep getting outbidded. And you are.
Right.
However, the way around that is, in those communities, there are distressed properties and HUD homes. Most brokers don't know how to do distressed and HUD homes, because even at $350,000, believe it or not, the average home purchasing person has an FHA loan. You very seldom find someone with a conventional. Conventional doesn't have all the red tape of making sure there's no chip paint and all of that. So when a listing comes up and says as is, that kind of throws out 50% of the FHA people, because they have 50 people, the buyers are FHA. They don't have if it's as is, the owner's not willing to make any repairs. And typically the repairs is painting, chip
Right.
paint. with FHA is costly.
And FHA loans, just so that we can make sure those are loans that are backed by the Federal Housing Authority, right? FHA loans have a lower requirement for down payment. I was just talking about this with my team explaining it, but they also have specific requirements, right? So like the paint has to be painted, it can't be chipped. You have to have gutters, you gotta have mason. You got there's actually the outlets, like it's almost like a CHA, if anybody's on Section 8, but it's like a CHA inspection where they're making sure
Yes.
the place is habitable. Do you know why they got so strict?
Well, it's always been strict because they have children under six has to pass the lead test and everything because it's backed by the federal government. The federal government sets the guidelines for CHA Section 8. They set the
Right,
guidelines for FHA. So it's the same guidelines. If you have a CHA recipient, a Section 8 recipient, those guidelines for FHA is the same guidelines for Section 8. No chip paint because they're trying to protect the consumer because the government is supposed to
right,
be working on your behalf, not the bank. And they're saying we're going to back this loan, but we can't back a loan where the person moves in and they barely affording the home. They have to now paint, be worried about lead with their children with the chip
right,
paint, worried about
right.
tripping, happen. Somebody walks down the drive around the sidewalk and trip and fall. Now they got a lawsuit. They can't afford that. So the house has
Of
to
course
be
not.
livable and in good condition because the person is using their life savings to purchase it and they may not have money to make those repairs upon initially moving in. So the government
Right.
ensures that it meets those requirements so that they can move in and have a peaceful enjoyment of their space until they build up enough more capital from after the purchase to be able to make additional repairs as needed.
Got it. And so, what? So we got this. So so essentially, it's like an FHA loan, but it's done through. So we're talking about the 203K loan. That loan is so that way they can do what with it?
So So if the property is as is or distressed property or a HUD, so the Housing of Urban Development has homes on their website that they have gotten back from other companies that have foreclosed on the home, and then HUD takes that property back. They pay the banks or the lender for that property and they take possession of it and they post it on their website so that people can purchase it. And on the HUD home is HUD housing home HUDhomestore.gov is the website where you can go and find those homes. There's a lot of homes in there, but only the owner occupant can purchase, which is good for a person who's trying to get in the area because those homes that are distressed, that are open to the public, you get outbid by those by investors. I had to physically have the sheriff remove a tenant today, and the tenant happened not to be there when the sheriff came. And now she's called the police because she's saying we're breaking and entering into her property and she didn't get any papers from the sheriff saying that she needed to be removed, but she wasn't there to get the papers and now she's out and we're packing up her things to give to her because we have to now with the new law with the Cook County Sheriff, you have to make arrangements to give them their personal content. So we pack it up that day because I need my unit back that day that the sheriff gave it to me because I've already had it for months not paying me rent. So now
Right.
she's upset. And that was one of my workers calling me, telling me that the police is on their way there. I said, okay. He said, you right. She was coming back. I told you she coming back. She lit it. And she's a little disgruntled. So I just had him check in because I need them to be safe. Even though I'm still compassionate about that because this is someone's home. They live in and now they're homeless. So I tell my workers all the time, this is a serious matter. You can be murdered, removing someone from the home. The sheriff takes it serious. You can't tell them prior to the sheriff coming that the sheriff is even coming. So they don't even know if they haven't been paying attention to the process but they don't even know the day that the sheriff is coming. The sheriff just shows up. They have no clue as to when they're coming. So people have gotten shot and everything. Like it's very dangerous. So I have to coach my team through how to deal with that and also let them know to be mindful of the tenants' emotions because they're emotional because they're homeless. Like they
Right.
really don't have a place to go because if they did, they probably would have moved out of my place a long time ago when they stopped paying rent.
Right. It
So
amazes me how many people have no compassion for
no.
this people in these situations. Like I find, people who are in foreclosure, people who are struggling, they don't choose to be in the situation, right? And people are like, oh, well, they should have managed themselves better, or they should have handled things better, or better financing, or gotten a better job. And I'm like, bro, it doesn't work that way. Like,
It
there
doesn't
are,
always work like that, but a lot of
it
times
just
they do
doesn't.
mismanage their funds. But I also blame that too on society pressure, because even with our tenants, when we get them, they have to make 2.5 times months rent after taxes. We don't even look at pre-tax dollars like the bank does, which I think that is absurd. Like, you're giving people money off a pre-tax dollars. They don't bring that home. What can they afford when they bring home? And we only look at after tax dollars to give our tenants their placement in our property. So they can't afford it. What I have found is they overextend themselves. They Uber eat. They buy things that they don't need and don't focus on what's important. Housing, your number one concern. If you ever anybody ever been to college and took psychology, it's a course, it's a hierarchy called Maslow hierarchy of need, and the first
Hmm.
level is safety, shelter, and security, and you're going to meet that by any means necessary. It doesn't seem important to you because you have it now, so you take it for granted. But if you
Right.
understood that when you don't have it, what it feels like, you will make better decisions. It's between my child not having Christmas toys or a roof over their head. In some parents' eyes, it gives them joy to see their child light up about a gift. But it's pain to tell your child when they come home from school that they don't have a home to come to. So putting into perspective. So I try to coach my tenants on understanding the importance of paying their rent before I put them out. Because I tell them now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Don't confuse my compassion with me just, I'm in the business for profit. I'm in the business to make money. And when you don't pay me
Right.
rent, then I don't eat. And my family is my priority. So if I have to choose
Correct.
between you and my family, I'm putting you out. And they be like, well, don't you got money. It's my money for my family. And my money is
Right.
not to give you a free place to live. I don't run a shelter, but
Correct.
I can give you a list of shelters that you can take your child and you to live in. If that's what's
Correct.
important for you, other material things. And that part, for some landlords, I understand because they see their tenants coming and going and living life and not taking into consideration their financial burden that they're taking on to keep this building. They got it so they can give things, nice things to their children, and they're taking from their families to save this investment property. So the tenants think we rich. I don't know why they think we're rich. We are not Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Bill Gates rich. We're trying to get there. To be
Right.
honest,
Right.
I don't even want to be that rich. I can't take that to heaven or hell with me. I want to
Right.
be,
Exactly.
I want to have the things I need when I want it. But it's hard to get to that position when your investment is being looked through a lens of someone who hasn't made the strides that you made in life and think that you owe them something other than the four walls and apartment that they pay the rent for. That's all I owe you. As long as when you
Correct.
call, I fix the things that are damaged. And even when I do, even when I'm in eviction process, I still go in and fix everything. If they sink stopped up, I still unstop it. They door handle breaks off, I still repair it. They still, because
Right.
at the end of the day, it's my investment. So I'm going to keep maintaining it until you move out of it.
Of
But when I
course.
move
Of
out,
course.
you're not coming back in here. I have a whole
No.
team ready to change the locks, pack up your bags, and move everything out within 5 hours. So within
I
five
love
hours,
it.
you better have your U-Haul truck because your stuff will be
Do you have,
sitting in the yard.
of course, do you have a good eviction attorney that you work with?
Yes, I do. I do. His name is Charles Zing. I'll give you his information. He is good. He only deals with property managers, though. He doesn't do individuals. But I do have an individual person, so his name is Damon Perry, who does individual owners evictions. So I refer those to clients who I
Big
consult
guy,
for.
looks like The Rock.
No, Damon or Charles. No, Damon.
Damon
He's
Perry.
Damon Perry.
He's not a big guy. Looks like The Rock.
No, last time I saw
Bald.
him, he wasn't big. He had hair. I haven't seen him in a while because he does closings too.
No,
But
that
I
was
refer.
Don Perry. Never mind. Different guy.
Okay.
Because I went to school. I went to law school with a Don Perry, who also is a
Oh,
lawyer, and I haven't
okay.
talked to him in a long time. Shout out
Yeah.
to Don Perry, apparently, and to Damon Perry, and to
Yeah.
Charles.
Give that
We'll
information.
make
Charles.
we'll make the information available for every, if you can email that to us, we'll make sure to
I
add it
will.
so that way people know, and they'll get
Okay.
some free shout outs here.
Yes. So back to the HUD homes, the
HUD
203Ks.
homes. We're gonna go right back to the 203Ks, right? So 203Ks and HUD homes.
So so what happens when you can't, so a lot of FHA buyers can't get those homes out of HUD distress because they don't meet the FHA requirements. And by it's not that many buyers who get conventional. Conventional you can, but conventional also too has to have lights, and the ceiling can't be falling in and things like that. So
Right.
there is the, but if you're in the area you want to get in, 203K loan works because you can do, it's two types of 203K loans. One of them is a streamline, which is less than $50,000. You don't need a HUD consultant to be involved in it. And it's for like painting, maybe doing some sprucing up of the property. And I'll give you an example. I had a client who wanted this property, but it was distressed. It had been foreclosed on it. And the house had been totally renovated by the person that lost it. It was really,
Okay.
really. When we went to do the tour of the home, the main water line had been cut. So somebody went in there and cut it, and it could have been the owner that cut it because it'll take longer to sell because an FHA person can't buy it because it does not
Right.
have any water. You have to have running water and gas and lights on an FHA loan. So that automatically wiped out FHA. Now an investor can get it, but this one here, this particular distressed property that was a foreclosure, it was a first look, which means when they say first look, only owning occupants can buy it for this particular property.
Okay.
When we went in, I told my client, I was like, oh, they're trying to keep people from buying it, and most people aren't going to be able to buy it because there's no water supply. It's fine. We can flip you over to a 203K FHA because it's a FHA. 203K loans are FHA loans. They're just for rehabs. And it's a streamline. It was at the top of her budget. Her budget was like 235, 240, 240. Most of the houses in the area were going for about, already with all the bells and whistles, for about 240, 200, between 200 and 240. And we kept getting outbidded because she wanted to live in Lansing. And this was during the heart of the pandemic when you would go to a property and it'd be a line down the street to see this one property. I'd be like, we're not going to see that house because you're not going to get it.
No, it's you're totally getting outbid on that one. Yeah.
We want to go waste our time. So I started taking her to properties that were distressed and making, and we, because I do rehab, I can go in and eyeball if it's going to be less than $50,000 worth of work. That's also added trait that I have that most brokers don't have. They just know how to sell a house that looks nice. I know how to sell a house that's distressed. I'll go in and be like, oh, it's going to cost that much to paint. You can get somebody to do that for that amount. You can get this. It'll be less than your $50,000. So we got the house. They won the bid for the house. Got in the house. When they did the inspection, they had to do a lead test. When they did the lead test, they found lead. So HUD gave her an extra $4,000 for lead removal, remediation. So they gave her more money. And then she ended up needing a roof because they came in and did the appraisal for the roof, and it happened to be within her budget. So she got a new roof. She got the water line repaired. She got the whole entire house painted. She got a fence put up that she wanted, and she was able to do all of that for less than $50,000 in her home. And she didn't, and it was a beautiful home because the owner had already done all the work. It was just little minor things that she updated in the home with her $50,000. Had she been battling with someone that had a house that was ready to move in, she wouldn't have been able to do it. And I turned around in Lansing and sold her son a house down the street that was for sale by an owner with a broker, and it was as is because he didn't want to paint and he didn't want to fix the cracked driveway. Did another streamline loan to paint the whole house and fix the driveway for less than $50,000 to meet within his budget.
That's awesome. So
So
so essentially
203K
gave them an
loan.
advantage to get into the property that they normally would not have been able to get into, but for the 203K loan.
Absolutely, yes. And that's what 203K loans do for people in communities where their money is not as long as the rest of the people that they're bidding against. Because she had $240,000, but the average person that's bidding on those homes have $300,000. They're looking at lower price homes because they have to take in consideration they may have to bid up higher, and they can afford that bid for that lower price home.
So what's required for the 203K loan? Like, what are I mean, it sounds like there's like, is this an extensive, difficult process?
No, it is and it isn't. So for the buyer, it's simple. The same requirements you need for FHA loan is the same requirement for 203K loan. The difficult part is So this is what I tell my buyer. If you have a distressed home that has no running water and no power, or no power, no running water, and no heat, there's no purpose in you doing a traditional home inspection because they can't tell you anything. He can't run the water and tell you the water line is leaking. He can't turn on the
Right.
power and tell you it's the electrical outlet. So instead of me having my clients to do traditional home inspections, I have them hire a 203 consultant. They cost about an extra $500 more than a regular home inspection, but they come out and give you a bid on the home to let you know what the cost of the home would be if you were to use a 203 call. So that it's on the HUD, it's called a HUD report, bid, HUD bid. And on that bid, it tells you what is required by HUD for repairs. It tells you what they recommend you do for repairs. And then they tell you what your desired repairs are. So you'll go through the property like when you go through a home inspection, they running the water and testing all that. You're going through the home and he's telling you, well, there's chip paint, so you got to paint all of these rooms. He'll tell you, you have to, you say, well, I want to update the bathroom, and he'll ask you, well, what do you want to do to the bathroom? I want to
Okay.
put in a new vanity. I want to put marble flooring down. You tell him all the crazy desires you want. I want to bump addition on the top and expand the upstairs. If you got like a bungalow, you want to open it up, and he'll tell you exactly what the estimated cost is to do those things. And then he generates you a report. He gives you two reports. So the first report has all the numbers on that report. And if those numbers exceed what your loan amount is, so let me go back. Your loan amount, say, is $300,000. The house you're looking for is $200,000. That means you only have $100,000 to make those repairs. Now,
Got it.
it's a caveat to that. The repairs that you're making for the extra $100,000, it has to be able to be appraised for the $300,000. So you can't go and do,
Put in a hot
say,
tub.
for you have $300,000, but the house only appraised for 275. You're gonna have to find $25,000 worth of stuff to take off to meet that 275. The bank is not gonna make you
Got
be
it.
house poor and
Got it.
over renovate a home that's not going to get the return out the investment. So you'll have to find $25,000 things to take out. Or say you only have 100,000, but all the repairs that you want, even with your desired in there, is $150,000. You have to take out $50,000 worth of repairs to meet that $100,000 mark. So you start off
Got
with
it.
your desires. Take all the stuff you desire to do, is not happening. Then, if after you do the desired, the recommended can't be done, it is not happening. And then if you get to the point where the required can't be done, then that house is a flop and you walk away from it. And it's easier to do that in the beginning instead of a home inspection. So you can know not to invest any more money. Don't do appraisal or anything. Because I have had HUD consultants to come through and I'll tell them, hey, my client want to do this house. All they have is $100,000. And they walk in, they be like, each floor take $100,000. Like because they do it for multi-unit buildings too. And they be like,
Okay.
oh, one unit is gonna cost you 60,000, and you got three of them to do. That's $180,000, and you only have $150,000 to get it to be habitable for the basic requirements. It's
You're
gonna
going to be
exceed,
short.
and we'll
Right.
cancel the deal before we even go forward
Get
with
too
it.
far. But it's $1,000 investment.
It's $1,000 investment, absolutely. So once you pay, because if you've got the offer accepted, you'll pay 500 for a home inspection. You just pay another extra because a home inspection about 500, 600, depending on who you go through. So you
Right.
put the
Right.
extra 400. You already know what your cost is, and it's going to meet it because you have to get it for a 203K. So you have to have the estimated cost. You don't have to get a HUD consultant for streamlining less than 50,000, but you have to get one for anything over 50,000. You have to get a HUD consultant. It's non-negotiable because they have to do the draws for you. You have to
Correct.
pay for the draws and things like that. Now, when they get you that report, they give you two of them. You get one with the numbers that you see what the cost is. So they say, oh, it's 180,000 all in for me to do the draws, for you to get the permits, for the material. They're gonna tell you what the cost of material is, the labor
Right.
should cost, and then you give the blank. They give you a blank report, and the blank report goes to. We ask you to get three contractors to give the blank report to get three estimates, and you get the three
And why three
estimates
estimates?
because one, some contractors don't follow through, and they'll say they can do the work and it may be more than they can take on, because this is the new law since the market crashed in '08. The HUD consultant has to have the working capital to start the project before they get any draws out of the transaction. So the first draw,
Wow.
the draws come in 25% increments. So they will not get their first payout until after they've done 25% of the work. So if you have a bid for $100,000 and you don't have the ability to swing 25,000 of that work before you able to even get a draw, you won't take the job because you don't have the resources to accommodate that draw.
Because you got to be able to advance the money in order to get the job done.
Exactly. Then that ensures that nobody does what they did in '08, running off with the money and never doing the repairs.
Got it. Got
That's the
it.
check and
That
balances
happened a
law.
lot.
Happened a lot.
Yes, it did.
Yes. Yes. So and then
So the
some.
203K loan gives them an opportunity not necessarily to pay more for a property, it's to be able to access a neighborhood targeting a distressed property or a property that would not normally qualify because of certain as is conditions that they have. And it
Yes.
allows you to buy that property and you upgrading it, right?
Yes.
Based on what the total amount of money you'd qualify for.
Yes. And I tell my clients it's
Interesting.
best to buy something distressed anyway, because you can add your own step to it versus buying something that a contractor does. And the majority of the contractors are men. No offense to you all. No, men vision in the. I tell people all the time, women buy homes, men renovate them. I, every client, even in my rentals, when they come out and see the home, if it's a man buying a home or a apartment, they call some woman and ask their opinion about the house, whether they are living there or not. 99.9% of the time. Their mother is there, their sister, their cousin, their girlfriend, their wife is making the ultimate decision about the house, even though they're not the ones that's buying it. So,
Fact.
but women design, like they look in, they like, I don't like that. Why would you pick that like that? Or why would you move that door? The function, it's not even functional. Who came up with this? And I tell them it was a man. Don't worry about it. He wasn't
Yeah,
thinking about functionality. He was
I have a
so
contractor who
old.
they built out a place in the GC and they built everything out and they drew the plans and then after everything was done I walked in. I'm like, where the fuck are the closets? I'm like, what do you
Right.
mean? I'm like, closets. You need fucking closets. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's not required in the code. I'm like, where's she
What is
gonna
the
put her
fuck
fucking
concept?
clothes? What are you
Exactly.
talking about? I'm like, yeah, closet. So then I was like, okay,
Everything
so
is
then
closets.
now yeah, so now I had them get the built out closets,
Mm.
right? Where they just put them
Oh
up against the
wow.
wall because the closet space wasn't enough.
Oh wow. So I'm listening to you. I'm sorry, I'm just multitasking. I'm engaged. I just have to send somebody something. But yes, so I tell people, it gets you
This is
in.
the joy of running your own business and being responsible for so many different things. Look at
Yes,
that.
I
She's
tell people.
multitasking. She's running an eviction while she's on this podcast, marketing herself. Oh, and by the way, people, you don't know this, but she's got a bum leg. She had um, uh,
Foot
let's just
surgery.
say that foot surgery. I was gonna
Yeah.
say that, but I'm like, I'm putting her medical shit out there. I
It's
think I
fine.
violated a few HIPAA statutes and shit, right? So she's limping around on a bum leg at home and still running a very successful brokerage and business. So she's one of them badasses. She's kicking ass out there.
Thank you.
Do you take
I try
names
my best.
first? Or you just kick ass?
I'm sorry, what you say?
Do you take names first and kick ass, or do you kick ass and then take names?
I try to take names. I try to be as humble and gracious as I possibly can. I'm a firm believer. God can't bless me if I keep my hands like this. So I have to open it
Mm.
up and spread abundance to other people and be grateful and gracious towards other people, because you never know when you will be in the same situation someone else is. So I'm very considerate. I'm just a very direct person, and most people confuse my directness as mean. I
Mm-hmm.
say what I mean what I say. I'm not going to
Yep.
change it. I'm not going to waver,
I
and I
love
don't
that. I
on it.
love that.
So that's the hard
Authentic.
part, because we have become a culture of people that like to be lied to. That's just it. They'll prefer to hear a lie than the truth any day, and that's just what we have become in America. It's easier to live in a fairy tale, uh, make believe world than live in real reality. Reality TV has made us water down our empathy and kindness. The social media and all of that has taken away good humanistic behavior in our people. And so my gift from God is to preach and teach. So in order for me to be able to preach and teach, I have to be humble and gracious and open up and take a name first before I kick her ass. But I will if I have to. I just try not to. I try to be as understanding. But when I become, I tell people I used to be a school counselor for 10 years.
Oh
And I
wow.
tell
Okay.
people, I used to tell my students, because I worked in the Chicago public school, so I've seen the craziest stuff happen in the
Oh,
school
I'm
for sure.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
And I will every beginning of the school year, I will bring all my students that I service into the auditorium, and I have a conversation with them, and I explain to them who Miss Watkins is, and let them understand I'm Miss Watkins until you violate my personal space, and then I become Tiffany Watkins, and you don't want to meet her because I don't have a problem with fighting students or their parents if I need be. So,
Right.
and they respected that and they liked me because of my honesty. Sometimes the students used to be afraid to come to my office, and one of the teachers came was like, "They're so afraid to come to your office," and I'm like, "Why won't you go see Miss Watkins? She has the information," and they'll tell her because my stuff not together. And when I come to Miss Watkins' office, she has expectations of me to have it together. And I'm not going there until I'm ready to talk to her because she's going to expect from me. And
Right.
that made me feel good because that made me know that I was doing my job to raise individuals that are good people and understand expectations in life. And we
Right.
have watered down our expectations in America of people. We
We
are
have.
more concerned with likes and shares and subscriptions than we are of being good, genuine people and having expectations of people. Because I have people tell me, you have high expectations. And I said, no, I have basic expectations. Because if I told you my real expectations, you wouldn't meet them. So
Standards. Standards and values.
standards, right? They're not high
Right.
expectations, they're just standards of good things. I'm big into mental health because I am a counselor, so I go to counseling myself. And my counselor said, you have old fashioned standards and expectations of people. And I said, I was raised right. I had two parents that raised me believing in a higher being other than self and being considerate of other people. And so those principles didn't get lost with me. And I take those same principles onto other people. I don't force people to do anything. I just give them the information. I met this lady. She says, you can't be mad at people for being ignorant. She said, because ignorance is nothing but the lack of knowledge. If you don't know what you don't know, how can you expect them to do better? So my thing
Correct.
is, I'm going to educate you. And then when you choose not to do better, that makes you stupid. And I can't be accountable for your stupidity. That's your choice. I have tenants, I put a sign up telling them not to park there, your car would get towed, and then they park there, and then they mad at me. No, but you changed the rules. It don't matter if I changed it or not, because I have the authority to change the rules. When you saw the do
Right.
not park sign there, or you'll be told, that was stupid on your part to park someplace where they told you you're gonna get told and then expect me to
Right.
fix your problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. And so that's when
Right.
my directness come out and they're frustrated because they're making bad choices, and that goes with the eviction process back to making bad choices. A lot of
Right.
things in America, it's out of bad choices. And what people don't know about Chicago's real estate, Chicago has the lowest rent and has the highest minimum wage in all the metropolitan cities throughout the nation, but we have the highest property taxes. I'm gonna say that again and say it slow. We have the lowest rents and the highest minimum wage compared to all the other metropolitan cities in the nation, and have the highest property taxes. So watch this. In Chicago, our minimum wage is $16.60. An average one bedroom apartment with heat included in West Pullman, Inglewood, just standard neighborhoods. We're not gonna go talking about downtown and Bronzeville. I'm just talking about neighbor communities, just middle class communities. Is
Right.
the highest is $1,100 to $1,200 for a one bedroom, and that's with heat included. And our minimum wage is $16.60. A minimum wage in LA is $17.85, and a studio is $1,700. Do the
Wait,
math.
$7. You said $7.85?
Yes, for LA minimum wage, and their gas is $7 a gallon.
Wow.
Their studio is $1,700. The
How
problem
are
with
people living?
I don't know how they're making it. They're generational living. You'll go in there and it'll be a family of four in a studio. And see, the problem with most American people is we don't leave our communities and we are in our own bubble, and especially in Chicago, and we think we have it bad and we have it the best in housing. When the real estate market when the real estate market crashed, Chicago suffered the most in 2008 because they put in laws downstate in Springfield that prohibited loans from being people being able to refinance their homes in black and brown communities. Racism, redlining, discrimination in housing was at its all-time high in 2008. It wasn't until Obama got in office that he stated that that was not fair, and it was discriminatory practices that were being done in real estate, and they had to remove that. And we lost a lot of properties in our home, in our communities, which in turn allowed a lot of investors to come in and buy homes. Now,
Right. It wiped out the generational wealth for black and brown communities.
absolutely,
Massive
massively.
shifting of wealth
Well,
from
yes,
brown to investment communities. Absolutely.
yes. Our property values in Chicago compared to other metropolitan cities did not increase by 20, 30, 40% in 2000. We had a very moderate increase in our price points. Our homes, our average home here is about $250,000, where the average home in America is about 350,000. We are when the market started to stabilize, our property values didn't drop in pricing because they never exceeded. We've increased about 10 or 15% versus everybody else 28, 30% increase in value. But our minimum wage continue to increase, whereas everybody else's minimum wage is still in the South. They're making $9 an hour. We was making $9 an hour back in 2017 in Chicago, and their rents are
Wow.
even higher. You have to do your own research. We are a society of people that listen to what people tell them. And remember, the platforms in which you're getting this information is from individuals who either A, want to continue to enable you. So they're going to tell you false propaganda to ensure that you continue to make the bad decisions so they can continue to make money off your ignorance.
Fact.
So your sources have to change in order for you to understand what's really going on in our economy. When he say make America great again, he means going back to now. Majority of the American real estate is owned by corporations. Back in the early 1900s and 1800s, companies owned housing. The Pullman area was owned by the Pullman Port. Pullman owned rail. They provided housing to their employees, and because of the labor fight and them starting to have unions, they said, well, we're not going to pay you high wages and give you a place to stay. So you can rent this home from me now. Until they went out of business and then people were able to buy the homes. So you have to know your history, or history repeat itself. So now what
Absolutely.
the government is doing is shifting housing out of the government from Section 8 just back to the employer. So if you're in the investment game, you're going to win because the employer doesn't own everything. You own some of it too, but they're making it hard for the investors to win, especially in Chicago. The laws that they write in place for private investors is just ridiculous. Some of them can't sustain with tenants being able to stay in properties for 6 to 8 months without paying rent. That's in order to get that real estate back to the companies. Because when they foreclose on it, most people that come in and swipe it up as a business. But if you hold on to it, when the business needs to house their employees, they just come and rent it from you and pay you directly from the business to the investor for their employee to live in that property. And that's where we're headed toward. So now people are going to work for their food and their housing like they used to. That's what making America great looks like.
I love how you make that reference because most people think "Make America Great Again" means going back to the 50s, but it's not the 1950s. It's going back to the 1900s, and it's going back to the late 1800s when it was a very different time for black and brown, very different time for the lower classes, the middle classes. In fact, there was no middle class pre World War II. There was no middle class. So the middle class was built by giving power back to the people and giving power back to the labor movement, which is
Yes.
the opposite of what's happening right now.
They're destroying unions. They're destroying labor forces. You can't complain. You free for losing your job. And what makes Chicago so great is majority of the first unions to be formed was in Chicago. Why? Because Chicago is the only city that every major expressway, rail line, and water can get to our city. So Lake Michigan goes to the ocean. The rail lines goes from any city rail line comes into Chicago. That's why most majority of the businesses were hubbed here in Chicago because of our transportation access to most all the cities. So that's what makes, and so we started the unions because these companies were here doing unfair labor practices, not giving people things. And we are the only, and the reason our property taxes are so high in Illinois and our taxes are high is because we're the only state that every government agency has a union.
Wow.
So if the people that works for the government is in a union and you're requesting higher wages and your money is coming from tax dollars, they just gonna increase your tax when they give you more money. I mean, you're
Hmm.
talking about from the DHS, IDOT, all of those government agencies have unions. Minimum
So
wage
is
is
that
$16.60 in Chicago.
so is that so are you advocating that it's a good thing that all the government jobs are union employees and that's why the taxes are going up, or what kind of what's
It's a
because
double
on one
edged.
side it's right, and one side you're like I'm pro union, and the other side you're like my taxes are going up. So where's that balance?
Where's the balance? And that's when it comes to being good people and good stewardship of your money and being good people. So the people that can make this problem go away are the wealthiest people, and the wealthiest people are the most cheapest people. Little do people know, people with money don't spend money. It's the poor that keeps the economy afloat.
Very true. Very,
So I
very
tell
true.
all the time, I said, listen, we need to figure out how we're going to get the people with all the money to start spending some, or we're going to have to figure out how we're going to get people with no money some money so they can spend it so we can keep making money. Because we can't have it both ways. You're
Right.
taking
You
from the
cannot.
poor who feeds our pocket. So when we take from them, where the money going to come from?
Right.
You have to
Right.
be good people in order for us to survive. I don't feel like this is a race issue now. It is a economic issue and a spiritual warfare. If you're a spiritual person, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because good people make sure everybody is okay.
Correct.
Greedy people, the people that's filled with evil in them, only worries about self and self-absorbed, and they don't care that 40,000 people were not going to eat because I couldn't remove the Affordable Health Care Act to make sure that majority of the people no longer have health insurance, because it's going to
Right.
affect small businesses like ours.
I mean, I think about it. You've got not only you've got gas prices, which wherever they're at, but now you've got grocery, right? So what used to cost grocery $100 now costs $300 or $400 just in the last few years, right? So grocery prices have gone up. Then people's tax bills, real estate tax bills have gone up, right? People's insurance rates have gone up, right? So their basic goods that they're buying have gone up, right? And they're not getting, let's setting aside all the benefits they got from student loans and everything else and all that. We're just gonna put that aside for a minute, right? Now
Mhm.
you add on top of that that it's interesting because if you look at the Affordable Care Act and the benefits, the an average family that made between $100,000 to $400,000 a year in income, right, which is the entire middle class,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
They got subsidies for their health insurance that reduced their health insurance to a third of what the premiums are. So if your premium was $1,200, you only paid $300 or $400 for your insurance, right? So now I'm
Yes.
paying $400 and I got health insurance for me and my child and my family, whatever the case. And then suddenly you take that away on top of all of the other expenses that I just told you went up. Now my insurance tripled. So either I'm not paying for something or I'm not having health insurance.
And most of them are
Because you
going to
can't have
take,
it
I'm
both
not
ways.
having health insurance. But the good part about Cook County has always offered affordable health care for all. You can go to the county hospital and based off your income, that's what you pay. So we don't have that problem in Illinois where we complain about our taxes because that's what our tax dollars pay for. It's the other parts of the world that's
Yeah,
going
it's
to
it's
with this
crazy when you
affordable health
see
care
kind of
act.
and then you're telling them that they're losing their health care. You're telling them they're losing their position. You're telling them that all these things are bad, and they're like, "Well, yeah, because it's the Democrats." And you're like, "Bro, you are not paying attention." And they're all the same, by the way. Democrats,
They all the
Republicans, they're all
same.
bullshit. They're
Yes, I have
all in the bullshit.
an example that I give to people to tell the difference between a Democrat versus a Republican. I'll take the heat and be the Republican because when it comes to my money, I am a Republican. But when it comes to social justice issues, I'm a Democrat. So I'm an
Right.
independent, truth be told. Depending on who's speaking, what I'm a person that pays attention to politics and I vote on who has the best policy to better our people collectively as a whole. We're both sitting at the table, and you have a dog, and I have a dog. And my dog, I'm gonna let the dog, your dog comes over to you because you're the Democrat. And your dog is there whining because they're hungry and you're eating your steak. And you look down and you say, oh, and drop him a piece of steak to keep him pacified and calm so he can figure out what he gonna do because that's all and he knows once he get that piece he's good and he's not gonna ask for any more. Whereas a Republican, he looks down and he says, you better go out there and hunt and find you some food or you just gonna starve. You will not get what's sitting at my table. That is the only difference between the two. But the problem is there's nothing for them to hunt and go get out there. When you're replacing jobs, simple jobs as teller and cashier jobs with AI technology, you're using robotics to run cleaning janitorial jobs. When there's no jobs for the common person who elected not to go to college because college isn't for everyone, because college isn't affordable for everyone, because an average student coming out of college has $150,000 or more of student loan debt. So they can't afford it because when they even get out of college, the job that they get doesn't even allow them to even live a comfortable life because they're already in debt before they even start their basic life. So there's no trade. Everybody can't be a plumber, electrician because it's not just in them. It's not in everybody to do that. So the jobs that they would typically get, there's no steel mills because during Reagan industry, he opened him and Clinton opened it up where they can export everything out the country because they reduced the import taxes to bring everything back in so they can move their businesses out the country. So it's a trickle effect. Everybody has done damage to American economy, but the American people are doing the most damage by not paying attention and being woke and understanding the decisions you make affects you and your people behind you if you don't understand how the system works. And I used to always tell my students, they used to like, why we gotta go to history class? This stupid. I said, listen, let me explain this to you. If I played chess and you played chess, and I knew the rules of the game and you didn't, who would win? They said, oh, Miss Watkins, you will win. I said, exactly. That history book is the game of chess and life in America. I said, if this country was that bad, everybody wouldn't be trying to come here. America is the only country that you can be born the poorest person in the world and become the richest person in the world when you come to America because it's called capitalism. It's called gaining and taking what you have and making it work. But a lot of people that are black and brown were born into poverty before they even got the opportunity to start. They already was 5 steps behind. But with the little bit that you have, if you take it and be a good steward of it, it can give you enough to be comfortable. But if you don't know how to play the game to be comfortable, you'll never get ahead. Every law that is written in American government was written by crooks and criminals, and it's a loophole. Just read and pay attention. But if you
Yeah,
can't read, you can't get in the system and make it work for you.
correct.
And that's the same in a housing game. The housing market, everybody can own a home. You just have to know how to do it. The first thing is being disciplined. Most people don't have discipline, especially in this day and age, because of instant gratification, and their minds are overstimulated from all of the television and the YouTube and the tablets in their face. So they're overstimulating their minds, so they can't focus. So they don't have any discipline. So the first thing to do is stop putting a tablet in your child's hand and give them a book to teach them good habits of being structured and disciplined. So when you
Or
learn
even
how
just letting them sit there and figure out how to play and be bored.
and be
Like
bored, like
if they're
how
bored,
taking
oh my
yes,
god.
and
Like I
it's
mean,
children
I've
are so
like they're
creative.
playing with they very creative. Yep, you want
Yes,
to
and we
put
take
something
that
in their front of
away
them to make them. Yep, 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 yep.
with the tablet
Absolutely.
or television. Exactly. So when you learn how to, I tell people make a ultimate sacrifice for a later gain. You have to sacrifice things to get the things you want in life. But they're so busy watching YouTube and all of these social media platforms as their standards of what they want to be like, and they're trying to fake it till they make it.
Right.
You're trying to impress people who don't have any more than they do.
There's
So
nothing to impress. Nothing to impress.
so if you make the ultimate sacrifices now and scale back and do things that just make sense, you can afford to buy a home. The biggest reason that people can't afford to buy a home in Chicago has nothing to do with they cannot afford it based off of their salaries. They don't have the down payment. Even with 0% down programs and all the credits, you still have to have money in the bank, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them don't. They
No.
only have good credit because they overextending their debt. So they can get qualified for a home. I have had a client who got all the way to the closing table. She got financed through a bank. financing. So you know she had good credit. The bank finance. The seller gave her ultimate credits. Basically, she would have walked to the table. She would only had to bring like $2,000. And her
She didn't have it.
she didn't have it, and she said she was just fearful for buying it, but I knew she didn't have it because she was moving, looking to buy the property because her rent went up to $2,000, and she didn't want to pay $2,000 for rent. I found her a house with everything she wanted, the exact house she wanted. And she wanted a Georgian, which I thought was crazy because she had bad knees, but I found one with a bedroom on the main level. So when she called me and was like, "I'm afraid to buy," and those excuses, I knew it was because she didn't have the money to show in the bank. Because you have to have the funds to show. And I asked her, I
Right.
was like, "Well, what about your 401k?" She said, "Well, I borrowed against it a while ago." So she didn't have enough in that. She didn't have people that she can get that kind of, because she had to show like $15,000, $20,000. And she didn't have it to
It's
show,
hard
even
to
though she was
show.
only going to bring $2,000 to the bank.
It's hard to show. It's very hard to
Hard
show.
to show.
Tiffany, we have I mean, believe it or not, we've been on this call for 45 minutes, not including the first 10 minutes where we started. A wealth of freaking knowledge. Like, we went from way beyond real estate. We went into the politics of how this country has really turned against the common layperson, the middle class. I totally agree with a lot of things that you said. Fascinated and learned a lot as well. Thank you so much. You also have one thing I do want to talk about really quick, really quick, really quick, really quick, really quick, which is on the third Tuesday of every month, you have Tiffany Teach It. And I think we got a little bit of glimpse of that today on this Thursday morning
Yes.
of your Tiffany Teaches classes where you talk about real estate and politics in the world. Tell me how we can find you on that Tiffany Teach It.
Tiffany Teach Tuesday is every third Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. during lunchtime. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We go live on YouTube and Facebook, and we post the reel on Instagram after the fact. But I'm actually live, so you can ask me questions on that platform. You can catch all of my fumbles because I stutter and lose my thought and start talking about something else. And it's only I never go over 20 minutes because I know our attention span isn't that great these days. So I just
Oh,
give
sure.
you
So you blow mine into 1 hour, but you can only do 20 minutes. We lost half our audience. They fell asleep. No, I'm just kidding. I was engaged.
Yeah, so I probably should go longer, but because of my time and me not, I would have to. It'll be a lot for me to do an
It's
hour
hard to edit.
episode.
Yep.
Yes, so I just do 20 minutes live right there on the spot. You can ask questions, or you can just listen to me rant and talk about things related to real estate. And everything that I talk about it relates back to real estate. Even when we were talking about the economy and we skewered off into the politics, it's real estate. All of that
It
gets
is.
back
It
to
is.
real
It
estate.
is all real estate. It all gets back to
It's
real
all real
estate. It
estate.
really does.
It
And
really
we were
does.
talking about the yesterday. AI will replace a lot of things. It will not replace housing. You
It will
still need
never replace
homes.
housing. Yes, it never
So,
replaces housing. So if you want to find
and
me,
until they put us in pods and then plug us into the matrix, which is a whole other.
right, YouTube, Instagram under Art. It's under my business, Art Property Management, and my segment is Tiffany Teach Tuesday, and that's ART Property Management. And you can follow us and subscribe to our page, and you can always catch me when I go live.
I
Thank
love
you
it.
for having
And
me.
absolutely, Tiffany Teach Tuesdays every third Tuesday at 1 p.m. Did I
That's 1
get that
p.m.
right? At
That's
1
1 p.m.
p.m. Google it, YouTube it, you'll find it. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. This is the Bowtie Edge Real Estate Unraveled, where we strip away legal jargon, get real about real estate. We got really real today, helping homeowners, investors, brokers, agents, lenders, and my fellow attorneys talking about what we actually need to know. Again, I'm your host, Mahmoud Faisal Khatib, the Bow Tie Attorney. We are pleased to have Tiffany Watkins, Miss Tiffany Watkins, real estate broker, with us today, and we brought you unfiltered insights from professionals who are on the front lines. This is not theory; it is strategy. Take care.